everyone present. I'm Sejal Shibe. I'm the AVP at CyberFrat, and this series, Security Talks with Sejal, is basically a series where we invite our esteemed CyberFrat Gold members to take up a topic, that they are expert and they have that experience with, and we talk on that topic. It's a quick fireside chat, is what we call. Is I as a moderator will be asking some good insightful questions to the guest, and we will be hearing what they think about that topic. So for today we are going to talk about GRC. The title of the session is Framing the Future, GRC 1.0 versus GRC 2.0. And when we talk about governance, risk compliance, or GRC, which has I think always been the backbone of any business, but the way I think the organizations are approaching it today, it is no longer like a checkbox or a tick that I think was the scenario a decade ago. I think back then it was merely a set of checkbox or something you would do for a compliance reason for the auditors or regulators. It was structured, of course, but also a little slow, was manual. Of course, in some areas that is still going on. But I think with more and more technology and AI coming in, I think we can now expect more from the complete GRC ecosystem. So we will talk more about this, but the outcome that we are expecting from this discussion will be that GRC can no longer be just a control mechanism, but it is now becoming a business enabler. A lot of RBI guidelines are coming up to make sure that we are following that through and through, so that there are no loopholes for the ever rising attackers, right? So today's discussion will unpack what this transition maybe actually holds 1.0 to 2.0, not just in theory but in practice. We'll talk about how organizations are modernizing their own GRC approach, their frameworks, what challenges they face, and how they can actually turn a mere compliance or a checkbox into a strategic advantage. And to help us out, with that and give more throw more light on the topic, we have Dr. Deep Pandey, who is right at the center of this transformation from building frameworks to implementing intelligence GRC platforms. So, Dr. Deep Pandey, I welcome you over here, who is a cybersecurity leader, a global cybersecurity leader with 35 plus countries where he has delivery experience, trusted by Fortune 500 customers, is a GRC consultant, NIST, ISO 27001 tutor, auditor. A lot of work he has done in this GRC segment, and he has 2 decades of proven expertise in helping organizations build trust, resilience, and business value in the AI-driven or technology-driven digital era. So, Deep sir, welcome. I hope you all can hear me. I hope you can hear me. I think your video is on, but I am not able to see you.
Okay, just a
Your
second.
backdrop is visible. Yeah.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah. Yeah. You're visible now.
All right. So
So
first
these
of
are,
all,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Please
am I
continue.
audible?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thanks for giving this opportunity, Sejal and CyberFrat, right, to include me in the gold member group. And this is one of the very great and one of the very great as well as experienced professionals are there in this group. So thanks everyone, and thanks for joining in as well, right? So it is not that I am expert in these areas, but yes, I'm a practitioner into that area. I keep learning with great people like you as well, right? So feel free to contribute wherever is needed, right? So
Yeah.
thanks, Sejal. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, okay. So quickly before we dive into the questions, one quick announcement that whoever is attending the session, as always, will receive a CPE certificate from CyberFrat. So the link to that will be posted in the chat. So please stay us till the end. And now I think let's start. Set some context. Deep sir, when we say GRC 1.0 and GRC 2.0. It is usually, we hear these terms being used in conferences, boardrooms, or I don't know, on LinkedIn, people come across this term. But what do they actually mean, in actual real business? How different how different is it, and how do you usually define it? 1.0 and 2.0. Let's start with that.
Yeah. So I'll just touch base that actually there is not specifically defined as a 1.0, 2.0. However, I'll just try to correlate it with the evaluation of the technology, right? The enterprise, right? So enterprise has started, if you talk about from 2000 onwards, right? So from 2000 to 2005 to 2012, if you talk about, right? So 2000 to 2005, we started building servers. We started building that computer as a server, keeping it in the server room or somewhere, right? And started building the application into that, right? After 2005 to 12, right? So that was the enterprise 1.0, if you talk about, right? So where we started creating a data centers and building all those servers into one place, right? So that's called integrating those applications together and creating efficiency in the applications, reducing the cost and other things which came into picture, right? So the core focus was IT integrations at that time, right? And DC consolidation, the data center consolidation, which were going on. And then they came as a 2.0, right? So the enterprise 2.0 I'm talking about, that was started around 2013 to 2021. Hope I'm audible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the core focus of that is the mobile applications, the collaboration, the business impact. If you talk about the collaborating applications, started coming into that, and the transformation of the CX, the consumer experience, started building, right? So that was the era of you talk about the evaluation which was happening from 2022 onwards. The enterprise 3.0 into picture at this moment, if you talk, right? What is happening in there is the AI and the automation is in a full swing at this moment. If you talk about, everyone is talking about AI, right? Even if they are using AI or in some other way, but they will talk about AI. But yes, it is impacting all of us in a positive way or whatever the best way it is. We are taking it out, right? So the impact of that in 3.0 is intelligence businesses are coming, right? So and the business models are also getting created here, right? So as a modernizing, the models are getting modernized, right? So that is the 3.0. So that 1.0 and 2.0, if you combine them as an enterprise, as a GRC 1.0, right? Governance, risk, and compliance as a in one. And after that, I look at it as a 2.0, where we require a lot of enhanced ways of doing the business, right? So the 1.0, the early days, if we talk about in 2000 to 2000, 2000 was just antivirus and a proxy, which was there to protect the data, right? Right. So when we talk about a
Right.
security, everyone knows about that. A CIA, we need to protect all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how we were doing it at that time? We were trying to put a lot of efforts into those checklists, checkboxes, and those SOPs given by the customers or whatever. But there was no standard approach, right? Just initial standard started building up at that time, right? So then the ISO started coming into picture, right? So that was around 2004, 5, right? So we started putting all that efforts. So that was the 1.0. 2.0 is a bit where I look at as the AI coming into picture. The threats are a lot because the GRC, the C word was always in a driving seat earlier, right? The compliance, because there is a penalty. The organizations are threat. They have a threat
Right.
of getting compliant into that. Right now, that threat is one part. The resilience is the biggest issue at this moment, more than that penalty at this moment, because there are tools are the artificial intelligence tools are with the bad actors as well and in your hand as well. Who is
Correct.
smart? It is who is smart, right? So who can hit home and what is the purpose behind and how we can protect it. So the governance and risk is coming into in a front now, right? How to do that? What all things we need to think about that? How we can make it 2.0 as a more effective, more mature, right? We talk about control maturity, but we don't talk about the governance maturity, right? We talk about what is that risk reduction, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about how much that risk reduction approach is mature, right? So all those things are coming into 2.0 now, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is basically the 1.0 and 2.0.
Okay, fair enough. That was a very clear explanation. So just before proceeding to the next, point, I wanted to understand from the audience who all are from the core GRC background. You can just put a quick yes or me in the chat so that, we understand who exactly is listening to us at this point, and we can accordingly frame our responses. You all are
They can
from
also
GRC, okay? Yeah.
they
Yes.
can also put that what is in one word, what is their biggest challenge in the GRC, if they can put into that actually.
For me, I think it's a lot of manual work sometimes that goes into it. So
Okay, good.
anything else from the audience, you can put a yes if you're from GRC, and then some of the challenges that you're facing in the traditional or the 1.0 version if you all are implementing that right now, audit and compliance. Okay. Checklist task, that is something that we have to move away from. I think now is the high time. Mapping controls to multiple requirements, that's a good one. Adoption of technology, clarity on compliance, yes. Okay. Okay, more and more responses we expect. We just want to make this session a bit interactive and not us both, speaking and you only on listen mode. I know you don't have the mic access, but use the chat window to keep this interactive. Put all your questions as well in the chat so that we can take those up at the end of the session. But let's move on now that we know the audience is from GRC. They have a few challenges that they are facing, and we have now defined what 1.0 or the traditional method is compared to the 2.0, which is uh, a modernized or a different model that we have currently. So, Deep sir, the next question that I wanted to know is how has the role of governance, risk compliance evolved over the past decade, and what actually triggered the shift from GRC 1.0 to 2.0? AI being one, we all know that through and through. But what else? Did any specific event trigger this, or how who came up with this? Just some light on this.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Sejal, for the question. Actually, I'll just put two more things in the GRC 1.0. Actually, that mindset and approach, right? So, what kind of mindset? Which, if you talk about a governance and a risk and compliance, generally we talk at GRC as a single word, right? But the mindset, if you talk about in earlier days, that was just a reactive kind of approach. Okay, audit is coming, we need that certificate because the customer wants that certificate, right? And we need to prepare for that audit. The all team will put their hard efforts into that, making the manuals, making the policies, processes, document, getting that approved, doing the internal audit, getting the management review. But the ultimate goal is to reduce the risk, give a value to the end customers or end stakeholders, right? But we miss out that somewhere due to the reactive approach because we put a lot of things, but that rhythm, maintaining that rhythm for whole year is somewhere it goes with the priority of a business here and there, right? So that was the 1.0 if you talk about. And the silos, the function where working in a silo. So suppose there is a manufacturing company, they have 10 branches in 10 different locations, maybe different countries. Everyone will create their own documents, right? And when you talk about the compliance in a single board meeting, everyone will put their own different kind of approach into that. That everyone was maintaining at a silos way, right? In a 1.0 kind of. And compliance focus because GNR is keeping in a back seat. The compliance was taking over to them because they need that ITGC report needs to be submitted on that day. That is the last date. And they will work upon to submit that ITGC report because that is needed by some of the regulators or maybe somewhere in the board, right? So everyone will put a pressure into that and people work for that. It is not that that is not useful, that is needed actually, that is required. But however, making it effective, making that governance as a mature process in that organization is one of the key things in the 2.0 we talk about, right? I'll give you the example how it was triggered and what it was triggered. It is just evaluation. If you talk about it, is just shifting slowly, because when there is a need, we all put our efforts to make it possible, right? Earlier days, the organization was sustaining for more than 50 years. If you talk about the earlier organization. Nowadays, the organization get vanished within 10 to 15 years. You'll see the one is coming and going after that. There is only single data breach happen and everything is gone, right? biggest data breach, if you talk about like which has happened in the September, right? One of the car manufacturer in Europe. In a history, that is, I think, £2 billion is still the cost of that breach, right? Do you think that they don't have a certificates? Do you think that they are not certified in the ISO 27001 on so many other compliances and governance? Everything was in place, right? So if you see, I'm sure that that will be there. I have not checked it, but that will be there. However, the result is something as a negative, right? So how do we ensure that the sustainability of that business should there? What should we do? Because all that standard are laid down, all those processes are laid down, a lot of efforts goes to creating those policies, processes, and everything, right? So based upon my experience, because I audited more than 200 organizations in more than 35 countries, right? So and I also trained more than 200 CIOs, CISOs, as well as the cyber professionals and IT professionals in the PCI DSS, ISO 27001, NIST cybersecurity frameworks on these some of the more standards as well, right? What I understood, because I audited so many organizations, there is a one big pain point for most of the people who are sitting in that other side of organizations who are maintaining that GRC portfolio. They are not able to communicate sometimes that the importance, the impact of that control, what is needed to apply or to make it mature, right? And the kind of, because there is a business pressure coming, okay, you do this, that, because that is needed by the customers, right? So how do we ensure that they are empowered, right? Something is needed. Now the you talk about that the breach which I was talking about, the latest one, right? What it will cost? Suddenly we'll see that okay, CISO is this. No, there is something that culture which needs to be imbibed, included in that organizations to ensure the security as one of the top priority to sustain that business, right? So till the time the people don't understand, but what should we infuse in that system so that the culture gets uh, adopted by that organization? That is something where the 2.0 takes to us, right? So the from reactive to proactive. So proactive is a very simple word. Okay, we need to do an audit, so we'll start making the checklist and other things. That is one. But the another approach is the risk is very high. Reason being, we don't know that what the AI can do, right? At this moment, there are a lot of capabilities of AI. We are training that with using it, right? So the AI is becoming more smarter than us because we may get forget about that. Okay, this control is that, but how that AI remembers it, whatever they do it, whatever we are giving that as a command to that, right? So the bad actors is taking benefit of all that. So the predictive control maturity or control implementation or to check that okay, this is the risk, this is the breach happened yesterday, what was happened there, so what approach we should follow today to see our environment is compliant to that or not, right? So the different focus should go towards that actually to ensure that our businesses are safeguarded, right? And we also need to empower those people who are leading that business in a GRC front. Because if you talk about the next business breach, as per my view, it will not happen with the technical failure. It will happen with the GRC failure or governance failure somewhere, right? So we need to put that, how we do that governance properly to get it matured, actually, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Very, very good point, sir. I think when we let's take an example over here. If we talk about audit, we have some frequencies set. कि जिसमें we mentioned that okay, once in a year we'll do this, once in a quarter we'll do this, once in 6 months we do this. But with AI and so much technology coming in, what according to you, Deep sir and audience, do you think do you think that okay, quarterly frequency will work for a policy to be reviewed, changed, or do you how do we tackle with that कि अब तक तो quarterly चल रहा था, once in a year also some policies are defined in that way. So first of all, from the audience, what do you think that do you think a quarterly period or a once in a 6 months period is a correct one to go with, or do we need to change that? We'll discuss more such things that were a little orthodox or traditional in the 1.0 version. We'll understand what more challenges there are or limitations in the 1.0. According to me, this is one thing that कि अरे पता है अभी quarter खत्म हो रहा है, we have this quarterly frequency, so now we will actually sit and do. So is that a right approach? Do you think quarterly frequencies are correct? 6 months भी चलेगा, once in a year is also good. according to the audience, what you are currently doing, but what do you think should be done? Come on, let's make this a little interactive so that accordingly we both will understand what your viewpoints are. Okay, so we need to change. Santosh is saying QTR quarterly review is good. Any more responses? Once in 6 months. Keep in mind the new attacks or all of that is happening while answer automated reviews. Yes, I think this is something, of course, we will not be discussing what tools all of us are using or what are the best tools, but I think some tools nowadays they have, with AI, of course, they've started building in such capabilities where we can actually go away from the quarterly, 6 months, once in a year approach, but actually can focus on some automated reviews and some areas where we don't have to depend on those frequencies to actually do this. Needs to regular quarterly. Okay, quarterly is good, risk based. Deep, so what do
See,
you think? Other limitations and this one as well.
good. So basically, if you talk about this is contextual actually, because if
Correct,
there is
correct.
an organization to organization, it may vary
I
actually,
think in
right?
BFSI, of course, industry wise, it will differ.
Yeah.
Business
And we
nature
can't
wise.
comment into the standards which are laid down by the regulators. We need to follow that because there is again the different kind of mindset is also there. You see, ultimate goal of any regulatory requirement. See, there are two kinds of requirement. One is the regulatory requirement, right? And the another is your standards, right? The standard we can comment something that what we need to do, but regulatory requirement because there is some what is that called? Act is coming behind that, right? We need to follow all that, right? So standard we can make some changes, but in regulatory we can't do anything on that because we need to follow that. Second, the purpose, the compliance. If you talk about today, what is the purpose of a compliance? It is to ensure the information is secure. You have a different kind of a stakeholder. Suppose I'm a customer of a state bank. Suppose my data should be safe in that particularly, right? So how it is going to impact the GNR in that governance and risk, right? So if you start thinking about in that direction, that it may impact you as well back, whatever you are doing today. So you can't fix it. This is a quarterly, daily, or monthly. The ultimate goal is the governance is matured, the governance process, right? If you say that it's a monthly, or it's a quarterly, it's a half yearly, that is one which is required by the regulations. But ensuring that the every moment, if suppose tomorrow is audit, how do you ensure that you are ready for that? So my thought process goes in that as one control if you select each day, which is applicable into that environment, and asking those stakeholders, that may be a server manager or that may be a network firewall manager or someone, hey, this is the context. If you see that if these controls are implemented or not, right? If you catch hold of only one control a day, I'm sure that within 30 days, you will feel that you increase your score by one in a maturity, right? So that approach gives you something that always you are ready for audit, right? And you are also mature and you are also fulfilling your half yearly or yearly or whatever that requirement which says, right? PCI talks about different, your other standard and regulations talks about different.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. So I think we have some responses in the chat as well. When we are implementing the controls against framework, then for a year, but weekly calls for fixing gaps post year with SOAR and SIM and cyber analytics driven by AI and ML quarterly. So I think, of course, it's a subjective contextual question wherein it
That's right.
depends.
It
Correct.
depends. The ultimate goal is your stakeholders' value should be protected, right? If you are ensuring that, okay, I am matured enough to run that governance and the risk process, the rest everything will follow. You will be protected, right? By design, you are secure. It is not that by documents showing that, hey, I have done this on the 1st of August. Now I'll do it
Correct.
1st of September. That doesn't fit in all the organization, all the kind of scenarios as well. But yes, the ultimate goal is the of a compliance, as I said, to reduce the risk. You can't make it zero. However, you need to reduce that as well, right?
Correct, correct. So when we talk about GRC 2.0, which is usually described as integrated, intelligent, intuitive, so what usually these terms mean? Is it something related to a technology? Because intuitive is something if, is it some kind of an alert system? If you can, tell us something about this.
Yes. So intuitive, if you simply talk about that, the person who is doing it, he should love with doing that, whatever he's doing, right? So how he can love that task? Because he should not have a burden or a pressure from some businesses. Hey, you have not done it today, right? He's doing it, right? But that that may be a dashboard, that may be a tool, a Excel sheet itself, which is automated with some kind of tool and technology. I'm not sure about it. He can create, the people can create those tools themselves, or there may be standard tools which are coming in the market. We will not tell any name of those tools as well. Intuitive means easy to use, easy to understand, and easy to act, because the decision needs to be taken quickly, right? The main thing is how to cut down that mean time to detect and take action on those non-compliances, or there is offenses, right? So how we can reduce those things, the time and frictions on that. And the intelligent one, that is one of the good things which is said, right? Intelligent. So we want that intelligent system which should automatically tell you that, oh, this is the reason, right? And you need to act upon it. I'll give you a scenario. There was a customer, um, right? So that customer, there was a breach happened somewhere in that organizations. Then the people check that SOC. Hey, why you have not informed that this has happened? This is a reactive approach now people are taking, because it has already done something in that organization, right? Why it was not triggered that alert, right? Because the alert didn't came into that. There may be XYZ reason. I'm not talking about the reason, but that parallelly there was an AI enabled system also kept as a POC. The AI enabled system showed, hey, someone was coming from that internet to your firewall, because the firewall has opened that, what is that? The login from outside as a console. If some attacker is directly coming into your gateway devices and clearing all that logs, right? And wow, it is not leaving any traces or something. It is very tough for you to identify that what happened, right? So that is the intelligence which is needed, because there are so many intelligence built. All those security key OEMs we talk about, they are inbuilding all that artificial intelligence, the threat feeds which is coming right from the internet, and in building that into inside the system and contextualizing based upon the user who is working under that, what kind of data life cycles they are maintaining, right? And what all the activities they are doing, and taking actions based upon that, or giving you actionable, quick actionables to act upon it to reduce the risk. Actually, that is called the intelligence system. But if you talk about overall in my thought process, if I talk about, there are a lot of tools. I don't think that any organization, there are very few organizations, they don't have the tools, right? Everyone is working with some kind of tools today. But still there are the more to do. More to do is the culture needs to be focused upon, because we are human. Today, whatever I'm learning, I may miss it tomorrow, right? How do I, by design, ensure I should not miss it out, right? Some system is needed for me to trigger it. Hey, that is the control number. This, and I need to make it to check it, and is it relevant to me or not? That context-based association of that control to that particular environment will give me a quick impact visualization. Hey, if I miss it, this may happen, right? And I'll start acting upon that.
Correct.
Right.
I think that can be a good trigger for a lot of people to, just make that roadmap and that planning in order to make changes. So that's a good point.
Yes.
But when we talk about businesses, is the leadership actually, using these GRC insights to make business decisions? Basically, if until now, GRC was a compliance checkbox or something like that. But now 2.0 version, if we talk about, it's a lot more than that. So, but do you actually see the leadership team now using the GRC insights to make any business decisions, like for example entering any new markets or managing the supply chain risk, any decisions like this that you have come across in your audits recently, or any such situations?
See, if you talk about a business decision, for business, there are two or different layers actually. If I talk about the top management, what they want, there should not be any risk, and risk should be lesser as much as possible, and that should be in their risk appetite. Today, if you ask in most of the GRC folks who are there, who are the uh, point of contact actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they are not able to define the appetite. I don't know that how many security leaders who are here, they are asking that what is our appetite. If that is defined on the numbers, it is very easy for the rest of the people as well, the stakeholders also, to calculate that risk, that what they are going to accept, right? So who is going to accept? Is that accountability straightforward coming to a single person, or the accountability is also getting distributed? I have seen some of the organization where there are two are there for the same task, right? Which is not feasible at all in ground reality, right? So which is also making you to to react on any or act upon any incident if sometimes happens. One thinks that the other will take care, the other one will think about, the another one will take care, right? So the risk part, if we talk about integrated risk management, IRM, which is the word coined by one of the tool manufacturer or the platform manufacturer, right? IRM,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So in enterprise, in a real time, if you can see that, hey, I have 150 application, and out of 150, one application which is there in the DMZ is having some kind of data exfiltration. And if that risk coming in my dashboard, I will be quickly acting upon that to see that how I can make that risk lower, right? But that is for a large organization or enterprises. But for others, also they can act upon some kind of predefined way that, okay, how I because that RACI matrix, because that is clear to the management of us security teams. It is very clear that who needs to do what, so they can reduce all that thing and take quicker decisions as well, right? So it helps. The all tools helps to take a quicker decision, because decision needs to be taken quicker, right, at the time when it is needed. So that data gives you a clear cut picture that what needs to be done. Yeah.
Okay, okay, fair enough. So, when we talk about, oh, okay, the transformation journey, or going from 1.0 to 2.0, any roadblocks that you see current with the current system that we have in place to actually moving towards a better and a more visible, or I guess a proactive approach. Any roadblocks, or or in the people in the audience currently who are listening to us, maybe you can share some of the roadblocks that you usually face, if you suggest any automated or any any way where actually as an organization, as a industry, we can move towards that 2.0 journey. So Deep sir, any roadblocks that you see, which, and of course solutions for those roadblocks.
Yeah. See, basically, if you talk about, in my view, the standard which are designed, if you talk about ISO standards, right? I'll talk about 27001, right? The clause 5. 4 talks about the context, right? The environment in which you guys are operating in, your business is operating in, that what kind of competitors are there, what kind of third parties are there, which are stakeholders in your organization, and all that will come. Who is the uh, threat to your organization? What are the risks on that? That's a 4, clause 4, right? Clause 5 talks about the leadership. The
Correct.
leadership support is one of the ultimate thing which is needed to ensure that uh, that it should get implemented or get mature, right? So there are roadblock. If we talk about the first roadblock is the change. Change itself is a roadblock in the mental. If you talk about most of the people, hey, I need to do this. This is the additional task coming to me. I was doing XXX till yesterday. Now I need to do X plus Y, right? So that is one thing, that how we build that culture. If we try to communicate, because the kind of environment that is there, if you talk about a layoff, right? How many layoffs are happening with the current kind of environment? Everyone has to evolve for the next day, next future, right? So what is, there are a lot of things which is going to come, right? Same way, we also need to think that what all things we can do better to ensure that our business should sustain, right? And the kind of profile which I need to work in, because the kind of outcome which is needed by the stakeholders, we also need to align ourselves, ensuring that the risk are lower, as much as low, which is coming under your appetite, right? And second, governance is getting matured, right? Third is the compliances are getting met on time, right? So all, if we maintain that, so that will give you that thing. The resistance, if we talk about low GRC maturity, is also somewhere a roadblock, right? So low GRC maturity means there are all three. It is not that only control maturity we need to look. So we need to look in an overall picture, right? And technical and data related hurdles are also there. Some of the organizations doing a very large numbers of a business revenue numbers, right? However, their technology is very outdated kind of technology, which is keeping them in a back seat to make some changes, because there are new protocols coming in, there are new threats are coming in, but you can't connect them to the internet,
And yes,
right?
mostly in banks, the legacy, the systems that we talk about, a lot of
Outside
BFSI
in
or
mostly in the
old
Western
organizations.
countries and
Correct,
other
correct,
countries, right?
correct.
So that is there, right? So
Mm.
still they are using the IBM mainframe, the older version, not the latest one, and some other things, right? So they still keep working into those kind of environment to ensure that the business should not impact, because their stakeholder is not looking for any other thing. They are just looking that the number should be kept safe and secure, right? Security is all that as well, right? If I don't connect my what is that laptop anywhere in the internet, I'm the most safest person inside that, right? Good.
Correct,
So
correct.
that is one. And misaligned technology choices as well. Misaligned technology choices means, suppose you are acquiring a lot of many organizations. Somewhere there is a different technology, somewhere there is a different technology, and you are the single person responsible for the GRC function, right? How do you align all that technology to give the clear cut picture, right? So the management thinks that, okay, the one person will be able to handle everything, right? However, the technologies are used different organizations are different, and those are coming into a one organization now. Or maybe a plant, there may be 100 plants. I was auditing in one of the manufacturing plant earlier, right? They have manuals written by hands, right? Because the printer was not working and I was going for an audit, right? So I'm just giving an example. So if I go to their different plant, they have written in a different way, and the other person has different. But manual means the kind of practices they need to follow to ensure that business is secure enough, right? So how do we align them, right? If I have created that technology wise that platform, or maybe the Excel sheet as a shared, or maybe any tool, right? Excel is also a tool, right? Any tool which is making their life easier and giving the value to the end stakeholders, right? So securing that will help on that. Budget is also constrained in most of the organization, because they feel the management somewhere they may feel that this is a burden. This is a IT kind of function, right? The business is coming from here. If we are able to, as a security leaders, if we are able to communicate them properly, hey, I'm doing this, and if you do this is the benefit which you are going to get, right? Or if you show them that the security trust, right? The trust score rather than a risk score. This is the trust score which is increased in this month by 13% or by 12%.
That
So
is a
they
good
may
way to
invest
look.
in you, right? Rather than giving them, hey, there are 18 risk, 14 are still working, or 14 are less than one. It is not, it will not go as a buy-in kind of things, right? Because if it is
Correct,
not
correct.
understood by the management, they will not be able to help on
That is a
that.
good point. I think an effective communication or the ROI that can be presented to the leadership, especially the board and the stakeholders, I think that will play an important role to tackle this. I think a couple of weeks back, RBI released a mandate for the leadership and for the board CXOs, a security training or some kind of a tabletop activity for one day or something. This new RBI mandate has come. I think Calcite especially works towards this. We will be releasing the actual mandate, the content in all the CyberFrat channels, today evening, so that all of you present right now can go through that. So I think now compliance or bodies like RBI themselves mandating a few things, because the problem that is of course a problem, budget, ROI, and those talks. I think we need to have with the board and leadership to close the gaps between the security teams, decision making, all of that. So I think that is I think the biggest roadblocker in order to go towards a modernized approach, because the technology plays an important role to make sure that the right technology with the right time is present in that organization. So I think thank you, Deep sir, for mentioning all those roadblockers and some ways that we can actually tackle those. I think one last question that I want to understand from you is you, I think, have audited, are auditing a lot of organizations, a lot of people. You have looked at a lot of policies, documentation, approaches that usually companies do all of this, or implement all of this, the compliances and the audits. What is the one piece of advice that you would like to share with the leaders and with the people who are right now there on the call, if they want to, let's say, from tomorrow start implementing, or want to take a step towards going to 2.0 from 1.0? So any piece of advice, a practical one, that they can actually start implementing. And after this question, then we'll take some from the chat. I see a few questions coming in, but yes, Deep sir, over to you.
See, if you talk about in a single word, a single sentence, so don't treat GRC as a tool. Take GRC as a program, actually, right? So if you take GRC as a program, not as a technology or a tool, and prioritize an incremental improvement into that. So there is a word in the standard as well, the continual improvement, right? So most of the people get confused with the continuous and a continual, right? Continual is like a staircase. If you fall down as well, you'll not be able to come directly to zero. You will be somewhere in between, right? So that is like a staircase, like going like this, right? One step ahead. So that continual approach is needed, right? And this approach, don't feel that I need to do that in a one shot. Take one small step and take a, what is that? Get it implemented and take a benefit out of it as well, because you'll feel happy when something is getting implemented. If you take that 300 controls, start doing it, sending an email to 300 people, putting a tool. If you think that putting a tool will be able to give you the clear-cut picture of in a 5 minutes, yes, that will be able to give for some of the controls, not all. However, that may not sustain for a long as well, right? But it will give you quicker, but not the all, because only one piece missing can make a breach happen somewhere, right? So how do we ensure? So take it as a program, and one step at one time. If you take a one control testing at a one time, will help that. Right.
Okay. That was, I think, a simplified way. Thank you, Deep sir, for all the insights that you have shared with us. So let's move on to some questions from the audience, which they have for you. So I'll just scroll up a little bit. So I think the first question that I see is from Rakesh. How AI can play an important role in GRC? Of course, there are tools and technologies, but Deep sir, if you can add more to this.
Yeah, from AI, you can do a lot of things, right? Even as a GRC professional, any GRC professional, if you need to create a policy and a process document, right? If you give them those kind of inputs, you can get that process in a policy procedures based upon your requirement. Don't disclose any organizational information into those public platforms. However, if that is a private kind of environment, of a AI environment, you can do that as well, and you can get that created. Basically, it is making you more efficient for doing all that tasks, whatever it was needs to be done in earlier, actually, right? So you can quickly make it, validate it, and verify it, approve, get it approved, and get it implemented. That is one. Second, there are a lot of other things as well. You can get that associated with what are the latest breaches are happening. As I talked about JLR, right? So I'll not name that. That's manufacturing organization, basically, right? So see the impact, because in a manufacturing a car, there are more than 40,000 parts involved in a car manufacturing, right? There are 40,000, if the parts are getting assembled for one unit, there are so many other small vendors who are contributing into that. If my main branch is going down, that so many vendors or so many employees are getting without work, actually. Think about it, it is going to impact that country itself, right? So how we can do that? That is the another things. Okay. Anything else?
So I
Hope
think,
I.
yeah, of course, I mean, that can be done with AI. But one follow-up question, Manoj Lala is asking, how safe is it actually to use these AI tools, especially, with respect to the compliance uh, perspective?
See, AI, if you talk about, if you are taking that the enterprise version, you need to check that what is the contract between both the organization to that. Based upon that contract, you can take the relative access on that, that you can use it based upon that. Actually, I'll not be able to comment only on that, but most of the cloud-based platform, there is a contextual agreement says well that where it will be saved, where the data, where it is going. You don't need to
Correct,
upload
correct.
anything, but you can get a guidance into that without disclosing any confidential
Correct. I
information.
think going through their privacy or their terms and conditions policy or the complete contract, I think that will be one step to understand
Yeah,
how safe it is. And again, I think Harshal Chaudhary is asking a similar question about open source tools that are there which can help to map the assessment of organizations' current state against ISOs, HIPAAs, and other compliances. So can open source tools be used, Deep sir, according to you? And if yes, which, because
see,
again,
I'll
uh-huh.
see, there will be, I'm sure that there will be a lot of tools, but if you understand that a NIST framework, actually NIST CSF 2.0, you'll be able to know that how to create a pre-profile and a post-profile, right? The current profile and the future state of that organization. Then you can map that all those categories and subcategories of a controls, right? So it's easy to use, create any Excel sheet. If you sit for 1 and 2 hours, I think you'll be able to do that actually.
Correct. The next question is from Santosh Gupta. How to get risk score for GRC or cybersecurity maturity? The risk score.
Risk score. So there are different methodologies actually, right? So that again depends upon that what framework you are going to use and what kind of how you are calculating it, how many controls, overall controls are there, and what is the weightage of that control into that particular objective, the control objectives of that area. Based upon that, you can calculate that risk.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different ways of doing it, right? So if you talk about 31,000 is again where you can define that methodology, that how you do it, ISO 31,000, right? The another one is if you are looking for asset base, then that is a 2005 as well. And there are different other risk measurement methodologies are also there.
So Mahesh Kumawat has a few questions. To start with, he wants to know the tools and use cases, the roadmap for deployment. So I think that's a very vast and a very broad question, but Deep sir,
The
the roadmap.
deployment of any compliance tools he's talking about. Can you just re-articulate that question?
Uh, Mahesh sir, I request you to just elaborate your question. Are you talking about any specific compliance, ISOs, or anything else? But until then, let's take his next question. Any AI inbuilt tools to GRC? What is the right approach? Any checklist that we can follow or anything like that?
See, basically, if you talk about, there is a standard released in the past, actually, that is ISO 42001, right? So if you look into that ISO 42001, and there is a straightforward requirement are mentioned in that. Based upon that, you can create any kind of checklist than what is needed actually.
I think it's similar to the 27,001. A lot of parts are overlapping or common. Some but
Overlapping,
some, I think, AI
yeah,
related, of course.
so basically, if you talk about all ISO standards, there is a HLS, high level structure is there, right? Clause 4 to clause 10, if you talk about, so that is the 4 to 10, right? Plan, do, check, and act. It is based upon those 4 pillar actually. And all those controls, all those clauses are based upon that. Actually, the clause will be the similar, but the activity will be different in that. Actually, the way of achieving the intended outcome of that particular clause will go a little bit deeper in a different way.
Okay, okay. So the next question is, what are some of the challenges that were there in GRC 1.0, but those are now resolved in the 2.0 version?
Okay, that's a very good question actually. 1.0, if you talk about, I'm not sure from where the question who has asked that which year he has started actually, but if you talk about 1.0, that was a checklist, creating a SOP point 1 to point 2, what kind of checklist, question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, putting a checkbox, okay, I have done just this, right? However, in the future, if you talk about that, also you need to do today as well. It is not that you don't need to do it today, but the way you do it, that is already, it will land up into the compliance, because if you follow those practices today, you have a SOC implemented, right? Most of the controls will feed into the SOC today if you understand what is the ultimate outcome which you need based upon that particular clause, right? What kind of context that particular control requirement is fitting in, right? So if you talk about a ISO 27001 and see the Annex A control of that, right? Annex controls about under that. The 93 controls are there in the latest one, right? So 114 were there earlier in the 2013 version as well. So if you are able to map them correctly with the business context of that organization wherever you are in, it is very simple for you to frame a question and checkbox. But question and checkbox is not going to give you the intended outcome. That is only giving you a just checkbox, right? However, think about it. You need to sustain your business tomorrow as well, right? So putting that risk-based approach on top of prior to the compliance one, right? So you need to visualize what will happen if this is not done. What will happen if I miss this, right? Then you will realize there are three more controls also associated with that particular control which needs to be checked in, which you may or may not be under your direct control. That may be in somewhere different, right? How to motivate the other team, how to include those teams as well in that compliance program, right? To ensure that single control also requires two subcontrols, which is there in the cloud team, or maybe there is a server team, or maybe network team, which is needed to pass that top line control.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Great, great. So a few messages, Deep sir. So the gold members, I think, who are present currently in the call, they are giving their thank you to you, Deep sir, which the everyday messages that you post in the gold channels. I think they're talking about that. Every morning I read those messages once you post it in the group. So basically for the people who are not aware, Deep sir, as I mentioned, the speakers usually who come on this series are gold members. And CyberFrat Gold is a different platform, wherein we do such activities, with a closed group of people and professionals from the industry. So Deep sir, every day, every morning, he posts one comprehensive message which has some kind of a problem statement followed by, some audit tips, some actionable steps that can be taken. So that is something that he shares every day from the GRC perspective in our gold channel, which a lot of members appreciate, read through. So that is, I think, like a morning read that I think most gold members have. So Deepsa, some appreciation for that is coming up in the chat for you. So thank you so much for sharing the content and the knowledge with all of us in the gold group. And I think for more information, Deep sir is also active on LinkedIn. He keeps sharing a lot of content related to GRC. So everybody can, follow him, check with him on LinkedIn if you have any other questions. Um, but I think with that, good questions in the chat. Thank you for being interactive and quick. And I think, just to close this up, I think Deep sir, first of all, thank you so much for coming up here and sharing your insights, some of the stories that you've come across while your audits. Those were, I think, really helpful. And I think now that now we can actually sum it up that GRC 2.0 is not just about upgrading tools or automating reports. It's also about the mindset that we have about changing how organizations think about risk resilience, and how basically quickly we can move away from it just being a mere formality. And GRC 1.0, I think, was about control, but GRC 2.0, if we talk about, is more about the confidence and a modern or that approach. And it's about embedding your governance and risk into the business itself, where compliance supports the innovation like AI and other technologies instead of actually slowing it down. Correct. And as Deep sir correctly highlighted, the shift takes more than the technology, but a leadership, it from the leadership, it takes that buy-in, the cultural alignment, and the willingness to look at GRC not as a checklist but as a competitive advantage. And I think one thing to take away from today is that GRC 2.0 or any 3.0, 4.0, whatever versions come up, those are not a destination or a final point that we have to reach. It's a continual journey that we need to implement. And I think thank you so much, Deep sir, once again for throwing light.
I'll just
And yeah,
I'll
please.
just need your 1 minute actually. This is a very great team here actually. You have, first of all, thanks for bringing all the people into the gold group, right? So there are two more things which I share in the LinkedIn actually. That is CISO 2.0 AI era, right? That's a newsletter which goes every week actually, right? It's where I try to share the information that how you can evolve as a 2.0, right? As a leader of a 2.0. Second is the audit GPT weekly, right? So that is basically promoting the people who are there as a silent warrior, right? So as a GRC leads or GRC heads somewhere, right? So how making a value for them across that, what kind of value is there? Okay. Thank you. And thanks for appreciating as well. Try to share it with as many people as you can. I try to put it for 20 lakh people every day through the LinkedIn and other medium, right? So it is very nice because I want to help as much as people who would like to secure the environment actually. Yeah, over to you, Sejal.
Yeah, so for that, I think I have shared your LinkedIn profile link in the chat. Everybody can quickly go connect with him. He has a good following, puts out a good content. I think learning from the community and from the people who are actually the practitioners from the industry is needed, especially, in something like GRC where continual improvement and actions are needed. So with that, thank you once again for all of the people who have joined.